Hello everyone, Tommy with Studio Sense here. Hope you're having a great day so far, and I'm really happy that you stopped by because we're going to be talking about something pretty cool in terms of fragrance and savings. I talk a lot on my channel about saving money, but getting a good quality fragrance. You know, you don't want to settle for something that you may not like just because you don't have to spend a lot of money on it. But what about those fragrances that actually smell like you spent a ton of money on it? Like you're just doling out $100 bills for very high quality fragrance. Believe it or not, and I know you believe it because you're here watching videos on my channel, and that's what this channel is pretty much all about. There are some fragrances, there's that happy medium that you can find fragrances for pretty inexpensive or very affordable, yet they smell like you plumped down 3 or 4 Benjamins. In other words, they have a very expensive aroma, a very expensive, high quality, top shelf kind of smell. Here in just a moment, I'm going to feature 7 fragrances that smell like you spent a ton of money on them, and yet they're extremely affordable. Plus, we're going to do a giveaway, so we got lots going on. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back everyone to Smoke and Mirrors. That's the theme of today's video. Fragrances that smell really expensive because they seem to have that sort of theme in common where they have a little bit of a darker heart, where they're very aromatic and extremely affordable. We've got 7 fragrances to go over, so we're going to pop the lid off and get to spraying. The first fragrance that I want to feature is a new release by Michael Malol. Michael Malol recently launched 3 fragrances. I've talked about one of them. 2 of them are unisex and decidedly masculine. This one is an absolute stunner, an affordable stunner. At that, smells extremely expensive, and it is Amber+Smoke. Check out that presentation. The packaging is stellar. I really like this. It's got kind of a matte finish to it. On the back, it actually gives you a listing of the notes, and I really like that. It kind of gives you an idea of what the fragrance may smell like without even going in for a sample, but this is the actual bottle. Light gray bottle that you can actually see through when there's light behind it with gold lettering. Amber+Smoke, just like the name implies, you've got this amber-centric fragrance with a background of a very light smoke though. And what's interesting about Amber+Smoke is that you would think it's going to be kind of a weighty, heavy, miasmic fragrance, being that it has the word smoke in the title, but it is not. This is going to surprise you. It's actually a very light, pleasant fragrance, and one of the more office appropriate fragrances that I've run into lately. Let's talk a little bit about the notes that are in Amber+Smoke. Michael Malol's Amber+Smoke features top notes of saffron, lemon zest, and orange blossom, with heart notes of amber resins, Egyptian jasmine, and tobacco leaves, resting on a base of sugared moss, pipe smoke, and pine woods. Doesn't that sound like an intriguing note profile? But of course, being Amber+Smoke, amber's the focus of the fragrance, but there isn't an overload. You know, a lot of times there's an overload of a specific, you know, like if a fragrance is vanillic, it's going to be an overload of vanilla. If a fragrance is focusing on incense, it's going to be an overload of molybdenum or something like that. Not so with Amber+Smoke. By the way, the atomizers are pressurized. I'll show you an example. It sprays beautifully, and the lid does click in place. Right out of the atomizer, it's nice, warm, resinous pull to it and attraction, but just like a rope is braided with multiple strands, nuances and hints, some floral notes in there. You've got that orange blossom, which gives it a very light citrus appeal, a little bit darker, like oil base, like petitgrain instead of citric sweet. That lemon zest and orange blossom places a kind of a nice, bright, lightly sweet tincture to the warm resin attraction. Jasmine and tobacco commingle in the heart to come together and blend seamlessly to the deeper pine woods and a little bit of pipe smoke. So you've got tobacco leaves and then the darker aged form of tobacco in the form of pipe smoke in the background. It's just such an intriguing, eye-opening, yet soft palette of fragrance notes. And again, it's super safe, perfect for the office, perfect for daily wear. Amber+Smoke seems like a fragrance that you'll have to wait for cooler weather, you'll have to wait for fall. That is not the case with this. You can definitely wear it. Here it is, 70 plus, you know, we're going into 80-degree weather, even though summer isn't quite here. And I'm wearing this. Smells great, it works great. It projects really well. But again, it's a softer, subdued kind of overall scent profile. Even though Amber+Smoke is a niche fragrance, Michael Malal is a niche house, it kind of fits the category of crowd pleasing because it just smells so good, so pleasant, and there's nobody that's not going to like how this smells on you. So it's definitely one that I recommend. Going to smell like you spent so much money. You're going to spend less than $100. Moving on to our next fragrance that smells like you spent a ton of money, but it's extremely affordable, is one by a designer house that's well known for creating extremely affordable fragrances that smell out of this world, just outstanding. In fact, most people when they smell Lalique fragrances are like, how did they do this? Why can't other houses do this? And this particular one, I say the exact same thing about. It is Ombre Noir. If you have a computer and you use Notepad like I do to write down certain things that you want to remember, or you jot it down on a post-it note or whatever it is that you use, write down Lalique Ombre Noir, add it to your to-buy list because you will absolutely want to own this fragrance. If you like sexy, seductive, boozy, that's one thing about Lalique is they're extremely unique. They don't really copy anybody. And if they do create a fragrance that smells very similar to another popular fragrance, it was likely by accident because they're so unique and they don't need to copy anybody. And while Ombre Noir may remind you of a few other fragrances that you've smelled before, there's really nothing else out there like it. The open is dominated by an unusual trio of peppermint, fig leaf, and bergamot. So you get this really cool kind of eye-opening, what? Ombre Noir is a perfect example of how the fragrance pyramid works. It's almost like a gradient. So it gets just a bit darker the longer that you wear it, the more that it dries down, the body opens up, that boozy. You've got frankincense and myrrh, both of which are darker resins, you know, the fixatives. Then you've got this wonderful fusion of cognac and tobacco. I could go on and on about this fragrance. There's so many facets of it that I really like. It's one of those that you can definitely wear as a signature scent, but it's not going to be quite as crowd pleasing as, say, a blue fragrance. It doesn't smell like every other fragrance out there. It's definitely its own thing. And if you like tobacco, boozy, kind of darker incensey fragrances, you will love Ombre Noir. And again, here's the thing, the whole theme of this video, it smells extremely expensive. It smells like you spent $200 or $300 for this fragrance, and you're gonna spend less than $100. Lalique Ombre Noir. The next expensive smelling fragrance that is extremely affordable, I've talked about before on my channel, and I just keep coming back to it as one of my favorite of the line. It is by Bentley. It is Bentley For Men Absolute. This is an absolute wonder of a fragrance. A lot different than Bentley For Men Intense, because you either love it or hate it when it comes to that fragrance. You know, it's strong, it's pungent, it's heavy, it's a little bit abrasive, but there's nothing about any of those adjectives that apply to Bentley For Men Absolute. This one is a bit more dry. It's elegant. It has that whole pencil shavings kind of tonal quality to it that some people use that phrase to describe it. And I agree, like a number 2 pencil box when you were in kindergarten, you know, when you'd open that up and that smell of kind of a combination of the pencil shavings and the lead, which actually is quite pleasant because when you think about it, that's wood, a little bit woody. Lead can be kind of like a fossil fuel or resin. So it does have that kind of attractiveness to it, and almost a nostalgic, stately, black tie kind of fragrance. So there's that side to it, there's a dressed up side to it, but also there's almost a casual feel in the open to the mid, and the dry down's a bit more dressed up. There are multiple facets to Bentley For Men Absolute, but my absolute favorite caveat, I guess, about it is that it's so inexpensive. You can get this for 30, 40 bucks, you know, 50 bucks at most, depending upon where you purchase it. And it smells like you spent 300 bucks, 200 bucks. Definitely give this one a try if you haven't already. Quite a few people have already discovered it. If you haven't discovered it yet, I highly recommend it. The next fragrance that smells super expensive yet is very affordable. It's not going to be a surprise because there's almost that expectation when it comes to this particular line that you know what you're going to get. And I'll prove it to you right now. What do you think of when I say the word Givenchy? You might think of a dark suit. You might think of a streamlined bottle. You might think of a powdery kind of iris. And you would be correct about all of those things. And when you put all those together, you have this extremely masculine fragrance line. And one of my favorite is Gentleman Givenchy Eau de Toilette Intense. It's one of the best that they have released in the line, and even compared to Society, which is the newest release, which is a fantastic fragrance. It stands on its own. I would even put this one up against it. This one has blue iris, combination of woods, and then it uses coumarin, which is an extract of tonka bean. Very sweet, yet extremely powerful. It's got just enough of an infusion of woods from the cypress and cedar wood duo, and a little bit of spice in that creamy, nutty cardamom and basil combo. So it's a fantastic fragrance that you can choose to wear every day, any day, and it's going to fit the scenario. Again, it's one of those that you can wear not only casual, but you can wear it dressed up as well. It's that versatile, and it's one of the reasons it's in this list, because it does smell like you spent so much more than what you're going to spend on it, which is less than $100. The next fragrance that smells very expensive and yet is extremely affordable is actually one of my favorite, because it reminds me of all the fragrances that you can no longer get in the Angel For Men line. So yes, it's a Thierry Mugler fragrance. It is Angel For Men Ultimate. In a lot of ways, it is kind of an ultimate. This to me is kind of a perfect experience, or reminder of all the aspects of the Angel For Men line that, you know, every man enjoyed, you know, and every person who smelled it on every man has enjoyed. Basically what you're getting is bergamot, cedar, balsam fir, and mochaccino. So there's this whole coffee kind of vibe threaded throughout the fragrance, yet it is not a coffee oriented fragrance. It's not really a gourmand fragrance. It's got hints of gourmand, but it's more of a crowd-pleasing blue fragrance that gets a lot of things right. Similar to Gentleman Givenchy Intense, it's got that sweetness down pat. It's perfect, neither too much nor too little. The light coffee vibe that is more of a resinous kind of masculine quality. It is hyper versatile. You can wear this in any situation, any scenario. And again, it smells like you spent a lot more than what you're going to spend on this. It's definitely going to be under $100. In some places, it's going to be a little bit more. I fear that this one is going to be discontinued, like most of the Angel For Men line. So if you don't already own this, I highly recommend grabbing it up for that reason alone, besides the fact that it just smells amazing. The next fragrance that smells like you drained your ATM yet is extremely affordable is by the very popular house Guerlain, and it is L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum. L'Homme Ideal EDP is one of the very few fragrances that, for me, I feel like is a 10 out of 10. Everything this fragrance does, it gets right. It is one of the more perfect fragrances that I feel like you can own and wear. For all the obvious reasons, it's hyper versatile, it's office friendly, nobody's gonna smell this and run off screaming into the night. They're gonna be like, what is it and where can I get it? You know, that kind of thing. It's kind of a combination of multiple facets. There's kind of a hint of cherry in this fragrance, but it's definitely not dominated by this strong, staunch cherry note. It's more of this spicy kind of almond, vanilla, incense, a little bit of bergamot in the open, there's Bulgarian rose, and then there's tonka bean and sandalwood in the base. So it's all of those. What you get more than anything in L'Homme Ideal, this combination of vanilla and almond sublimated by this incense, carried forward by all the other notes that make it just this epic, epic fragrance. If you are wearing this on a date and the woman doesn't end up loving it on you, there is something wrong, because this is an extremely sultry, seductive kind of date night wonder. So definitely one of those that if you haven't worn it in that specific scenario, I highly recommend doing it, because it will help you out in that situation, because women love this on men. It's a wonderful fragrance, and again, 10 out of 10 for me, and it happens to be the fragrance that we're going to do a full bottle giveaway on. Not this particular bottle, a little bit smaller bottle, a couple of them actually. So I'm doing a giveaway of a 50 ml bottle of L'Homme Ideal EDP and a 10 ml travel size. Now, there is a little bit missing out of this because I guess it just evaporated from where they shipped it to me, because by the time it got to me, this is what it looked like. I have not actually sprayed this or used either one. So if you want to win a 50 ml bottle plus a 10 ml travel size of L'Homme Ideal EDP, all you got to do to enter to win is make sure, of course, that you are subbed to my channel, which is Studio Sense. So make sure you're subbed to Studio Sense, like this video, and tell me, out of the 7 that we're talking about this evening, we've got one more to go, don't worry, but out of the 7 that we're talking about, which is your favorite? Or, if you've not tried any of them, which are you most interested in trying out? So that's it. Make sure you're subbed to my channel, make sure you like this video, and tell me which is your favorite out of the 7, or which you're most interested in trying. and you'll be entered to win. In about 3 or 4 days, we'll pick a winner, and I'll send it straight to you. The last of the 7 fragrances has that quality and bearing that smells like you dropped a couple of $100 on, and yet it is under $100. This designer is well known for creating fragrances that are in some cases ridiculously inexpensive. For example, 3 AM, very inexpensive, smells like you spent a lot more on it, kind of fragrances, and this is no exception. It is Sean John, and the fragrance is Unforgiveable. Now, Unforgiveable is one of those early 2000s, I think it was launched in 2006, fragrances that time has not dishonored the fragrance or made it smell dated. It's a wonderfully ebullient, citrusy fragrance in the open. So you've got this bright, wonderful symphony of citrus notes in the open, but then it moves into a more kind of spicy, lightly seductive fragrance from the heart into the base. And then what you end up with is just this sexy, seductive, masculine, date night fragrance. I don't want to label it specifically for date nights only. It carries the earmarks of any fragrance that you can use as a signature scent, so it's definitely office safe, office friendly, it's definitely crowd pleasing. But the best thing about the fragrance is that it's so inexpensive, and it smells like, again, you spent a lot more on it. It smells like an expensive fragrance. And the blend is not going to go into the notes that are in this. Like in the early 2000s, most fragrances had everything but the kitchen sink in it. There are a ton of notes in this. It's blended so seamlessly. That's why I use the word a symphony. It's a really spicy, olfactively symphonic fragrance that is very pleasant to smell and to wear. And again, very inexpensive. You may already own Sean John Unforgivable. It's got a pretty decent reputation when it comes to the fragrance community, but a lot of people still haven't discovered it. So it's definitely worth talking about and reminding. This is going to be a reminder for you today to try out Sean John Unforgivable. You'll be happy that you did. Well, guys, that's it for my 7 fragrances that smell like you drained the ATM, but they're all going to be under $100. In most cases, 1 or 2 of them might be a little bit more depending upon where you purchase it, but if you go to the right discounter, you can get them for a great price, all of them under $100, and get some change back in most cases. However, if you don't already own L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum, or if you do own it and you want a backup bottle, I'm giving away a 50 ml bottle of it along with a 10 ml travel bottle. All you got to do to enter to win is just like this video. First, of course, make sure you're subbed to Studio Sense, this channel. Like this video and tell me which one of the 7 that we talked about this evening is your favorite. Or if you've not tried any of them, which one piques your curiosity, which one you are most interested in. And that's it. 3 or 4 days, I'll pick a winner. Guys, thanks so much for stopping by to check out today's video, and as always, thank you so much for your continued support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow.